California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you?
Well, I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Bill Maher didn't sugarcoat a thing live on air. He went straight for Gavin Newsom's political jugular, raw, unfiltered, and unflinching, accusing the California governor of presiding over a state sliding into dysfunction from homelessness to taxes, crime to mass migration. Maher ripped the Band-Aid off the blue state fantasy. But the shock came when Newsom admitted something deeper. Even the Democratic Party is splintering. This wasn't typical cable chatter. It was a jarring moment that ignited viewers and seized every corner of social media. Maher's takedown wasn't performative rage, it was the voice of a fed-up Californian. The Golden State's glow has dimmed, replaced with sky-high costs, chaos, and deterioration. Once the progressive crown jewel, California now feels like a cautionary tale under Newsom. Homelessness has soared past 180,000, the worst in America, despite billions shoveled into programs that barely move the needle.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon.
Cities like LA, San Francisco, and Oakland have become documentaries of decline. Tech giants Tesla, Oracle, and Hewlett-Packard have fled to Texas and Nevada, with families following close behind. Crime, especially smash and grab, chaos has grown so rampant that Walgreens and Target now lock up basic necessities or shut down entirely. And then the taxes. California's 13.3% top rate, the highest in the country, has triggered a revolt even among diehard liberals. Maher, a longtime Angelino, has mocked the absurdity of paying luxury tier taxes while navigating potholes and sidewalk tent cities. He's warned for months that California's progressive fantasy has devolved into delusion. That was the energy when Newsom walked into the studio, ready to defend the blue state model. He boasted GDP stats, Silicon Valley magic, and climate leadership. But Maher wasn't nodding politely.
It's stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly thing that we too much government there?
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that, and they're the ones making a case for that. They were making a case. They're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, they've supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support.
This wasn't a conservative ambush. It was a liberal calling out another liberal. Commentators didn't call it an interview. They called it an intervention. When Maher leaned forward and said, "You're running the state, everyone's leaving," the air shifted. No jokes, no warm-up, just truth. Newsom insisted California still leads in jobs and innovation, brushing off the exodus as right-wing propaganda, but Maher cut him off. "This isn't Fox News. Gavin, I'm talking about my friends, my neighbors. They're done paying premium prices for dysfunction." Things got gritty fast. Maher described the tents, the stench, and the danger after dark. Newsom talked compassion and reform. Maher dropped the hammer. "You've been in charge for years. And it's worse." The crowd didn't clap, it just agreed in silence. Then came taxes. Maher sliced through the talking points. "You're draining the middle class," he said. "People making $8K can't afford rent. You tax them like millionaires and hand them potholes and crime." Newsom responded with buzzwords: equity, reinvestment, infrastructure, but Maher's face said it all. How can you brag about GDP when people can't live with dignity?
I feel like this country is divided into owners and healers. People who think you can own the other side. Gavin Newsom owned DeSantis. DeSantis destroyed Gavin Newsom. Or people who want to talk and heal. And I feel like the next president's going to be, at least if it comes from this party, the Democratic Party, someone who wants to talk and heal.
It's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about that.
And the blow landed. Every time someone leaves, Maher said, that's your tax base walking out the door. That's your social program shrinking. It was cold, precise truth. Newsom pivoted to green energy, tech, and social justice talking points. Maher nodded slowly, then delivered the dagger. I love all that. I love the state. But when the lights are off and everyone's moved to Austin, who are you leading? Silence. No applause, only impact. Even Democrats online admitted Maher's words hit because they weren't partisan. They were personal in that moment. Maher became the voice of the disillusioned progressive, the liberal who still believes in ideals, but refuses to tolerate incompetence as the price. This wasn't television, it was a mirror held to power. Newsom tried to recover, but he defaulted to what he does best: performance, perfect smile, perfect tone, perfectly hollow.
It was looking bad there for a while, and we still don't have enough water in the Colorado River and all this stuff. And then whenever I read 80% of the water goes to agriculture. Almonds. No one ever asked you about almonds? Oh, I'm going to ask you about almonds. We grow a boatload of almonds.
I'm well
here.
aware.
You know how much water it takes?
Many gallons.
1,900 gallons to grow a pound of almonds. Come on, man. Take on big almonds.
Take on big almonds.
He sounded like a campaign ad in human form, polished, upbeat, and completely disconnected. But Maher wasn't buying it. He'd heard this speech too many times. Newsom's defense clung to two ideas. California's problems were proof of its success, and critics ignored its economic dominance. He rattled off stats about GDP, renewables, venture capital, and diversity like a PowerPoint presentation. Maher barely blinked. Sounds great, he said. But people don't live off GDP, they live off reality. The line drew uneasy laughs. Newsom smirked, searching for a comeback that never came. Maher went straight for the jugular again. You can't brag about saving the planet when you can't even save San Francisco. The room froze. The applause that followed was half relief, half shock. Maher wasn't attacking from the right. He was exposing hypocrisy from inside the tent. Newsom tried to spin chaos as the growing pains of progress.
I feel like the last couple of years you've purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, this is a blue state and that's a red state. And I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree. I don't want to have a state of mind that's a constant fight or flight. We've gone through so much. We've been polarized and traumatized. There's been a tough 5-6 years across the globe, not just in this country.
It sounded rehearsed, maybe sincere, but still hollow. Maher pressed harder. You've had time. You've had billions. Where are the results? The camera caught Newsom's confidence flicker into defensiveness. Maher leaned in again. You call it bold leadership. I call it mismanagement with good PR. Gasps. It wasn't cruel. It was accurate. Anyone who's waited at the DMV, dodged broken pavement, or sat in highway gridlock knew exactly what he meant. Newsom tried to diffuse the tension with humor. You're sounding like Sean Hannity. Maher grinned. No, Sean Hannity roots for your failure. I live here. The crowd erupted, this time with conviction. It wasn't left versus right. It was reality versus spin. Maher wasn't hosting anymore, he was cross-examining. Newsom's polished talking points kept bouncing off a wall of lived experience.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly thing that
What was
we
interesting?
too much government there?
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that. And they're the ones making a case for that. They were making us, they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they've supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know what the top priorities are: homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes.
Newsom came to restore California's image. Instead, he became its case study. Maher drilled into the deepest wound, homelessness, billions spent on HomeKey and similar projects. Yet tents still multiply. We hear about new programs, he said, but we see the same misery. Newsom blamed courts, inflation, bureaucracy, everything except his leadership. Maher shut it down. You're the governor. If California can't fix homelessness with its budget, who can? Silence. Newsom reached for moral high ground, saying California chooses compassion. Maher didn't budge. Compassion isn't letting people rot on sidewalks, it's results. The room quietly agreed. Next came public safety, viral robberies, stores fleeing downtown, small businesses dying. This isn't perception, Maher said, it's daily life. Newsom cited statistics. Maher fired back, it's not about stats, it's about trust, and you've lost it. The stories hit hard. Newsom tried optimistic rhetoric, but Maher wasn't asking for hope, he was asking for honesty. Californians don't see transformation, they see tents, they see flight. They see failure dressed up as virtue, and that's why Maher's takedown exploded online. It wasn't anger, it was exhaustion, not partisanship, reality. When Newsom's practiced smile faded, it revealed a deeper fracture inside modern liberalism. Maher exposed the weakness that Democrats fear most. You can't preach compassion while producing chaos if California is the model. The model is broken, and Maher didn't say it to score points, he said it because it's true.